But they're gonna, yeah, they're gonna.
I don't understand that either.
The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and
And
over
so I don't
and
know
expecting
her.
a different result. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I am going to go ahead and call tonight's meeting to order. Thank you to those attending in person tonight and those staying engaged by watching our recording at a later date. The public is reminded that if they wish to speak during community comment, they will need to fill out a speaker form located in the lobby on a table and turn it in to Board Secretary Kim Colvin, seated at the end on my left. Comments will take place during the designated community comment portion of our agenda. And before we dive into tonight's agenda, I want to take a moment to introduce those seated at the table with me. To my right, we have Superintendent Degner, Directors Pilcher Hyatt, Eastham, and Vice President Williams. To my left, we have Directors Abraham, Clausen, and Director Finch is joining us remotely, along with Board Secretary Colvin. And with those introductions, we will move to our first item, which are the student representative updates. And before I call the students forward, the board left you all individual thank yous for attending our meetings for the year and providing us such great updates. Your names are on them, so just grab yours as you leave the podium. And first up, we have Jaden from West High.
Thank you. This past weekend, we successfully had prom, and for the first time in many years, a couple of parents organized the party after prom. We had about $3,000 worth of gifts, and I unsuccessfully entered in a raffle for a PS5. On our track team, we went to Drake and placed a second, or our time was second in the nation currently for our distance medley time, and our 4x2 time placed 9th all-time in Iowa with the school record. For Heroes of Troy for our teachers, we recognized Mr. Weimer and Mr. Welch. I've personally had Mr. Welch for like 6 years now. He's been great. And everyone's favorite week, ISASP's testing, was a couple weeks ago, and AP testing will wrap up this week. Earlier today, I actually took an AP test, and not the best time, but we're through with it. Elena Greenlee and Will Chen won Best of the Year Videographer and Best of the Year Designer by the Iowa High School Press Association for our journalism team. And our math team placed first at state. And wrapping up the arts, we had a Beauty and the Beast performance this month in April, and that was also a success with our pit orchestra as well. It's been a great year, and thank you all for having me.
Thank you. Next up, we have City High, Mary Kate, and Ari.
Hi, thank you. She couldn't be here today, unfortunately. She's working at Oaknall. Is it okay if I take it and give it? Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure they're like, oh, he's stealing extra. I don't know. Okay, I will do that. What to start? So, like West High, we had our prom. I think we had the most people attend we've had in quite a few years. We had over 550 people come, which is a record for us. And then following that, we also had our party after prom, which I don't know how many dollars in prizes we had, but you know, it seemed like an adequate amount. I work with one of the moms who led it, and I was asking her at Sunday school, I was asking her how many people came, and she said, despite checking everybody in, they did not count, but according to the parking lot being pretty full, I think it was fairly well attended, and a lot of my friends who stayed the whole time had a very good time with the magician at the end. For the arts, we have our final orchestra concert coming up on May 23rd. We have one of the best cello sections in the whole state of Iowa and probably the nation as well. And they're playing a special piece where each of our senior cellists get to have a little bit of a solo. So I'm very excited to that, and I welcome you all to come. I think it should be very impressive. For me, I don't understand music that well, so I'm just like, wow, that's pretty good. But if you understand music at all, I'm sure you'll be very, very blown away by it. Including that, we also have our final choir concert coming up, which I'm very excited for. Sports have been getting underway. Well, nope, they've been kind of wrapping up, actually. We've had our tennis districts yesterday, which, as you can maybe see, I did not adequately prepare for with enough sunscreen, but we had a very good time there, and we have tennis sub-state coming up for boys this Friday, where we'll be playing Western Dubuque at West High, and hopefully if we win that, we will then be playing West High. Girls districts is tomorrow, and I know they're very excited to do with that. Track districts coming up. I know we have a very good track team this year with some returning state champions, Ford Washburn, Truman Thompson, Ammon Smith. So we're excited for that. And then, yeah, graduation coming up. I know the feeling is, a little bittersweet, some melancholy, excitement. I'm excited for it, a little scared for the future, but yeah, so it's pretty good. And I really appreciate you guys letting us come here and talking, and of course, treats. Always love treats. And I just want you to know that every campaign for the presidents for next year at City High has talked a lot about coming in here and giving you a little bit of an earful from the student body, so I hope you're ready for that. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to note that Tate High Representative Gabrielle could not attend tonight. And last but not least, Liberty High, Lauren and Santiago Fajardo. Are they here? Okay. Ari, will you really take it to him? Yes, go ahead. Yes, go ahead. And Guy, thank you so much. This is our last meeting. We're going to follow up with them. Ari, don't get excited. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, next up, we have our ICA update from President Brady Shook.
They upstage me every time, so. President Malone, Vice President Williams, Directors, Superintendent Degner, I just want to start with a shout out to my fellow teachers here on Teacher Appreciation Week, and a huge thank you to Kristen Peterson for the awesome sort of digital social media campaign that's going so far, and all the folks at the ESC who have been a part of the planning on that, and to the families in our community. The things that I think that happen at the buildings in support of our staff and our teachers this week are awesome. Thanks to the board for the consideration of the amendment on the calendars. I think one thing we've done really well is to build out smarter and more balanced calendars, and I'm excited to see this as an option for us and look forward to continuing that conversation. And then my last thing, and one of the awesome things about negotiating is you get to be in a room, at least I do, with people in different employee groups. And we worked with the nutrition folks here recently, and I was really struck again about just how fiercely dedicated that they are to the district and to our students and to our staff and to their, and Allison's not here, but Allison Demery does a marvelous job as their leader. And I was fortunate enough then to participate, like many of you, in the National Lunch Heroes Day, and Director Williams and I did our best not to mess things up at Liberty, and I think we did okay. I only stayed for one lunch, though. I thought that's enough for me. I didn't want.
It only got better.
It only got better, I would imagine. So just a shout out to them. I think what they do is just awesome. But it is, I think, also a testament to what we do in the district, just to see, their dedication to the district. They could go and do a lot of different things, but they just love the Iowa City Schools. They love our students. They love our staff, which is really amazing. So thanks.
Thank you.
Brady, if you don't mind, I know I'm blundering through protocol here, but I just want to go back to your comments about Teacher Appreciation Week. I've noticed on my Facebook feed that the district's been publishing a very short, one sentence or so, statement from students about why they appreciate their teachers. They're just marvelous. They're just great. I'm so proud of the teachers in this district and of the students who really are have great connections, great relationships with their teachers, and are learning a lot because of that. So I just wanted to say that.
Thanks, Director Easton, Charlie. Yeah, I think it's been a marvelous campaign, so thank you. Yeah.
I agree. So thank you. Next up is community comment, and I do not have any slips, so we will move on to agenda approval for tonight. I would entertain a motion.
I move we approve the agenda.
Second.
Kim, we're ready to vote.
Online voting is open.
Kim, Director Finch is a yay vote.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
All votes have been cast and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Before we dive into the consent agenda, just double checking that there were no questions from those who reviewed the bills this cycle. Okay. And with that, are there any items that directors would like to pull from tonight's consent agenda? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to pass tonight's consent agenda.
I move we pass the consent agenda.
Second?
Any further discussion? Hearing none, no. Board Secretary Coven, there we go. We're ready to vote.
Online voting is open.
Director Finch is a yay vote.
Thank you. All votes have been cast and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Okay, we're at tonight's one and only public hearing for the amended district calendars.
Now is the time and place for the public hearing on the proposed amended ICC SD 2023 to 2024, 2024, 2025, and 2025 to 2026 district calendars. The purpose of the public hearing is to receive public input on the district's proposed calendars. As part of a rolling 3-year calendar system, the board will approve the 2023 to 2024 amended district calendar and acknowledge the draft 2024-2025 and 2025-2026 district calendars. Are there any comments from the board? Are there any comments from the public?
Hearing none, we will close that public hearing. Next up is policy review. It's the 800 series. We saw that at our last meeting, and there's an action item for tonight, but I wanted to check in with the chair of Policy and Governance, Director Finch, to see if there was any additions or anything further we needed to discuss.
Thanks, President Malone. I don't have anything further to add. I think we discussed this at the last meeting. We had very few changes.
Okay, thank you so much. That takes us to tonight's presentation, the ICCSD Transition Services Update. And Superintendent Degner, did you want to say a few words?
Yeah, I'll just introduce Director Reedy to the podium here. She's going to lead you guys through the transition services presentation, and then she'll be asking for your consideration below on the action item that couples with this presentation. So, Ashley, go ahead.
While Kristen helps us here, I will introduce some of the people in the audience as well as Brian. So I'll start with introducing Brian. You can just introduce yourself, speak your role there.
Hello, board members. My name is Brian Schaefer. I am currently right now, I'm a lead support teacher. So I support our high schools, our secondary buildings with transition services. I work with our special education department, and I work with our administrators and teachers in lots of different areas, but a big chunk of it is transitioning, so supporting our buildings with transition services.
And this year, Brian has led some of the work in our community with a small advisory group around how to improve our transition services within our school district. And then I will let our team out in the audience introduce themselves.
Hi, board. We're going to stay back here until the questions come through. But my name is Jessie Siltz, and I'm the vocational rehabilitation counselor from the state of Iowa that covers City High. And I also work closely with Raquel Lewis, who is our associate who works at Tate and Liberty and West High Schools.
And I'm Diane Johnson. I'm the counselor specialist or the contract manager for our transition contracting programs at Iowa Vocational Rehabilitation in the eastern half of Iowa. So I help with transition alliance programs, project search, and some of our other specialty contracts.
Okay, so I will try my very best to be brief because it's the end of the year and people are tired of hearing me talk. So hopefully you have had a chance to review the presentation. But really, we just wanted to talk with you a little bit today about Iowa's recently adopted model, the Iowa Transition Model, which was officially adopted last year by the Iowa Department of Education. And that is important because it really has been a leverage point for us as we identify, both the work we are doing already and where might be the barriers in our system that we need to more aggressively target in moving forward in those areas of learning, living, and working. And so this lovely visual comes from the Iowa Transition Model on the Department of Ed website, and it really outlines what that journey should look like for our students, starting in elementary all the way through when they leave our public system and go on to their post-secondary goals. And so what we have found through the work that Brian has done with our advisory group this year is that we are doing a lot of great work across our system in the areas of Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 to better support the transition needs of our students, but there's a lot of work still to do. I think when we think about our portrait of a graduate and what we ask of our students to be ready to leave our system, a lot of our brains go right to the academics, right? We want to make sure they have the credits they need to graduate, that they have a plan to perhaps go to a college or to have gainful employment. But there's a lot of space in between those two things. How are we making sure our students are supported and set up to be successful in the area of living, to have levels of independence, to be able to navigate their community? In the area of working, to have meaningful employment, to be able to make above a minimum wage, to be able to support a family or themselves. And then within learning, for those that do have ambitions to go beyond high school, how are we ensuring that we're best setting them up on that trajectory right away? And so on those next couple of slides, we've really outlined, here's kind of what we're already doing to start to target that. And then I'm going to move us to slide 6, where we talk about our current partnership with Iowa Vocational Rehab Services, and where we see an opportunity to expand. So IVRS is, as Jesse shared, in all of our high schools right now. That is a service that is provided by the state, and they have so much time that they spend in our high schools. So we don't currently, Jessie would share, she's not currently full-time at City High. She has a little bit of time where she's trying to case manage as many students and work with teachers as she can. So why that matters is if you look here, you'll see this is our data, because our data is always a year retroactive. Looking at Liberty City High West and Tate for our students with most intensive needs in that learning, living, working area. Students with IEPs and students with 504s. Here's the total amount of students in that year that could have been considered. And then if you look at that third row, those are the amount of students that had gone through some sort of accessing that, having an open case with IVRS. And then as you can see, in almost all circumstances, the number of students that were having targeted skill development in those areas of learning, living, and working was less than 10. So looking at those total numbers and then the student services we were actually providing, you can see at the bottom, we have a lot of work we'd like to do. So that brings us to this partnership we're proposing with Transition Alliance Program. This is something a lot of the other UENs have begun to do work with, and it kind of combines the best of both worlds. It takes what IVRS is doing and then really supplants that with some additional resources and supports so that we have the needed staff, skill development, coaching, training to really target these needs of our students. And we're able to do it through staffing it ourselves and then participating in a payback where they pay back 50% of the resources allocated to do this. So how this came to be is we had actually been working with Superintendent Degner and a couple of our leadership members to build this out internally for next year. So we had done a lot of work on here's how we're going to staff it, here's how we're going to serve this, here's how we're going to close these gaps. And then we started working with some of our UEN teammates, realizing that there was this programming that already had the framework built for us and that fiscally would cover half the cost. And so as we dug into it more, we realized this is the foundation we can build off of to really start to better support the needs of our students. And so this slide just really overviews how TAP enhances IVRS and school district services that they're currently providing, and what resources they can bring to our system. And then if you scroll down, again, I'm not going to read the slides to you, but it really goes into how we will
in a more intensive way through open cases, directly serve our students in those areas of learning, living, and working. And then, most importantly, anytime we're looking at how are we going to allocate our resources to close a gap, we need to be able to speak to how are we going to monitor if that resource is serving its purpose. So these statistics, which are closely tied to the work we're monitoring through the Iowa Department of Ed, through some of our other work, will demonstrate if this resource is helping us to close the gap with our students. So, I know I talked really fast. I wanted to give you the brief overview. Our ask today is, first, what questions you may have, and that's why we've asked Maggie and Jesse to join us, but then also that we ask that you approve our contract and budget that we've set forth today. We have a partial contract today that provides the budget. There's a full contract you would sign. We wanted to make sure you had the monies today. And then our contract structure is for the fiscal year, so there will be a new contract in October. So what questions might you have?
Well, thank you for this presentation. This was very nice. So if I'm understanding correctly, this will just enhance the type of services that Voc Rehab has provided before, and the contract will provide more staff time and more, well, I guess more staff time is probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, I can speak to our proposed infrastructure. So how we would be targeting this is currently IVRS, because of their limited FTE that were allocated,
Yeah.
they're primarily supporting either those tippy-top students, those less than 10, right, that we'd identified there, or working with some of our teachers to provide some like interview skills classes and those pieces. What we're recommending is that we will have a dedicated person at each of our secondary sites. That sole role is to serve students in that area of learning, living, and working. They'll work closely with our counselors, our gen ed teachers, our special ed teachers, but they'll also then be working with our community to develop our linkages, to set up work experiences, to go to college visits, all those additional pieces. And then within that framework, we'll have job coaches. So we also will then have coaches available to work with students who have identified skill deficits in the area of gaining employment, where they're going out and working within community work sites to develop those skills.
Well, yeah, having job coaches, that's an amazing thing.
Yes.
That would be a really fabulous addition. So, yeah, great, thank you.
I have a dumb question. So what kind of people will be taking this role on, or are they the existing people that are doing it? What are you looking for? Because what you just described is someone with, a pretty lengthy skill set.
So I think there's a few components to answer that question. So one is my lovely friend Brian, who is, he won't say it, but I'll say it for him. Like, transition services is his life's work. It's an area of passion for him. So he is kind of the mastermind behind this, and will be leading this group of educators and team. We work closely with Maggie and Jesse. Sorry, thank you. And there's a rigorous training structure for how we might target those areas, and access to robust curriculum, resources. There's a data module that they fill out regularly for reporting out on student progress, so we can monitor the outcomes of our students. And then, in addition to that, there's different levels of responsibility. Like you were saying, the job coaches really will be on the job training, and we have resources and supports to provide that. That, what we're calling a specialist role, will be requiring more experience in the area of providing adult and transition services, which we're lucky enough to know quite a few people that are very interested in growing this service in our district, and anticipate having many people interested in joining our team.
And I would add up for that specialist position, a good fit would be somebody that really understands the community. They understand what resources are available in the community for adults or students with disabilities. And they have understanding of employment and how to build relationships with employers in the community. So that would be like our perfect specialist or senior specialist working in our buildings and out there just growing opportunities for students.
That's exactly the kind of information I was curious about, so Thank you. I should just let him do the talk. No, both of you, thank you. No.
So this is exciting, and I'm a little bit biased because in a former life, I was a rehabilitation counselor that specialized in employment and job coaching. So,
Just saying.
no, I think I'm very busy, but knowing that there's still community partners, because I did that with the Arc of, it was known back then, the Arc of Johnson County. I think they're now the Arc of Greater something, I don't know. Thank you. So this is exciting because I know when I did that work, how important it was to allow those students to build their skill set and see that they offered just as much value as some of our students that weren't on an IEP or a 504 plan. They can work, they can be productive members of our community. So I'm excited to see where this goes. Thank you so much for the presentation, and I'll let other directors add anything if they had anything to add.
I just a question on the budget that you have in here. It says 3 positions. Maybe a typo, 1 senior specialist and 3 specialists. Is it 1 senior and 2 specialists?
That is a typo, I apologize.
Okay.
We'll make sure to
Okay.
work with TAP to update that. The proposed is 1 senior specialist and then 3 specialists. for
Okay,
a
so it's
total
4
of
total,
4
okay.
positions.
And are they, I guess just looking at the budget, are they full-time positions? So then I'm gonna ask another question here. $54,000 for salaries for 4 people?
Let me, I don't have the budget.
Or
up
is
in
that
front of me right now.
per?
That's per.
Okay.
Do you have it? Okay, go ahead. Oh, it's our 3-month prorated.
9/30 of 23, we have to do everything on a federal fiscal year.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why that contract is so tiny, and then the October 1st approves June 30th forward.
Okay.
She mentioned you guys will get another contract in October.
In October.
That'll be the year contract.
So this is a 3-month, like, prorated.
Got it.
You're like, yeah, no, those numbers don't look as fun.
Okay. Okay. I mean, it's probably not often where the board's like, don't you need more money for this?
Yes.
But don't you need more money for this? Okay. Okay, that makes sense. And I think people know, yeah, this is great. Right in my wheelhouse, really excited about this, and I think it's going to be great for our students.
And I do just need to shout out our team one more time. I think that we had identified this need in the spring last year, and like I said, Brian really started the transition advisory group and eliciting feedback from community members, teachers, critical stakeholders, community resource linkages. And it's really just grown even in this year to the point of Brian bringing me this opportunity to partner with TAP and why we can continue to grow our programming. And so lots of hard work has gone into how we're going to build this out for our students. And I just really have to shout out the team, the work they've done. Great job.
Good job. And if there's no further comment, I will just say thank you.
Thank you.
That was our only presentation for tonight, and that takes us into our action items. The first is for the 800 series from Policy and Governance, so I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve the 800 series policies.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, Board Secretary Coven, we are ready to vote.
Online voting is open.
Director Finch is a yay vote.
Thank you. All votes have been cast, and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Next up is approval for the Transition Alliance Program that we just heard about. I would entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the Transition Alliance Program budget presented to us.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, Board Secretary Coven, we're ready to vote.
Online voting is open.
Director Finch is a yay vote.
Thank you. All votes have been cast, and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Next up is a vote for the amended district calendars for 2023, 24, 24, 25, 25, 26. I would entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the 2023-24 amended district calendar and acknowledge the amended draft 2024-25, 25-26 district calendars.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, I'm just going to make a point on this. We're a very competitive district. This is the kind of no money thing that makes us way more competitive. Just that we can acknowledge teachers' professionalism and smart breaks at good times of year for lots of different reasons, for our community, for our staff. But these are the kinds of things one of the reasons I'm proud to be in the district that supports our community and our staff in ways that really any district could do, and we choose to, and I'm proud of it.
Agreed. Any further discussion, comment?
I just would note that we receive throughout the year messages from parents about usually about why do we have a no school day on this date. And I would ask the superintendent to continue your good communication to parents about the reasons for those no school dates. And anything we can do in advance would be most helpful.
Great. Hearing no further discussion, Board Secretary Coven, we're ready to vote.
Online voting is open.
Kim, Director Finch is a yea vote.
Thank you. All votes have been cast, and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
And next up is a receipt and filing of recommendation regarding termination of employment contract. I am in receipt of that recommendation. I would turn it over to Dr. Ramey if he has any further comments he wanted to add.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the board. This is a procedural process under Iowa Code Section 279. The superintendent is recommending the termination of an employee. However, the employee has requested is entitled to a private hearing with the board. As such, the termination is not final and should continue to be treated as a confidential personnel matter, which is why the recommendation was provided to the board president in a sealed envelope. This is not a vote by the board to terminate the employee. This is just a procedural step that the board recognizes that we've met our obligations procedurally under Chapter 279. After this, you'll be notified by the board secretary in writing of a date and time of the hearing, and we will keep you posted on that as we move forward. Happy to entertain any questions.
Any questions from Director for Dr. Ramey? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
I move that the board receive the recommendation regarding termination of employment contract and file it with the board secretary.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, Board Secretary Coven, we're ready to vote.
Online voting is open.
Kim, Director Finch abstains.
Thank you. All votes have been cast, and the motion carries with Directors Clausen, Malone, Eastham, Williams, Pilcher Hayek, and Abraham voting yea, and Director Finch abstaining.
Thank you. That concludes our action items. Up next is our legislative update. Superintendent Degner, you want to kick us off?
Sure. I think maybe the easiest thing to tell you this evening is we're probably going to have a lot of updates over the summer regarding the legislative session. At this point, we even encouraged our principals this afternoon to really keep comments pretty limited. There's a lot of guidance that we feel is going to be coming our way. There's going to be a lot of questions we have to ask legal counsel, and we haven't seen rules. Some of these laws haven't even been signed yet. And so for us, that's why we've also kind of stalled some communication around it, because we don't fully understand all of the impact of the pieces of legislation. I mean, we have everything from the school choice bill to the governor's omnibus bill, the bathrooms bill, a discipline bill, property tax reform, and Chapter 12 flexibility. We're going to have a really busy summer just navigating new changes to Iowa ed law, let alone the other things we typically try to do during the summer or new work we're trying to lead. So they did complete the session, is the update from last week, and now we have to go to work. We have worked with Allers, our legal counsel for the district, to ask for kind of a summary and some guidance from that aspect, going even farther back than this legislative session, knowing some of the elements around House File 802 and how that's impacted our work in the district. And so really looking for kind of I'm struggling on a good way to describe it, but really an overview piece that we could start to work with our staff from a training aspect, even to train us who have to lead then the rest of the staff about what that looks like. So we will have a lot of work ahead, and that's not just from the understanding and providing the guidance, that's also going to be the day-to-day work that's tasked to some of our staff with some of these changes. So more to come definitely over the summer, but that's the update I would provide right now.
Okay, yes.
Couple things. First of all, I think that we need the community to understand. Can I say that for a second?
Yes.
That it's absolutely necessary for us to seek legal counsel on this because it's impossible for a school district to interpret this. So in case there's any hesitation by a community member that we would spend time and money and energy getting legal advice, it's absolutely necessary. So I'm glad we're doing that. The other thing I would just mention is an observation. It's in the discipline statute, and I'm not going to find it maybe off the top of my head, but something I found interesting is when we're looking at a student who has been disciplined or had some sort of behavior issue, it's recommended, there's several things that we're supposed to do with that student. One includes the option to provide some kind of social emotional support. Just as an observation, we've been told by other legislation and by our legislators that we're supposed to avoid some amount of that kind of support. The problem is clear to me that this legislation suggests we're retroactive, or excuse me, sorry, reactive, that's what I meant to say. We are reactive with students who are already struggling for some reason and therefore have some sort of behavioral issue arise. So obviously, as educators and as an admin team, we all know that that's not how we help students, right? We want to support them from the beginning. I just think as an observation, that's something we're seeing with this legislation that is not child or student-centered, and I'm disappointed to see it.
Great.
To kind of piggyback on that, I think that as we change our policies and procedures, because we have to, not because we want to, we need to be clear with our communicating out to the parents that we're doing this because of this specific law. So it's understood, and I almost think when we change it in the board policy or the other written policies, a footnote maybe gets added that says, this is in response to House File 802 or whatever it is.
I think our policies do usually have a footnote relating to whatever law.
Just so that future people also understand, or future board members, how that policy gets crafted and why. Because I think I shouldn't say a lot, but I do think that we are going to have some policy changes that we as a board would not make if given the chance. And we're going to have to because we have to follow the law.
Great messaging. I think it may give rise to more than a footnote at times. So I think that's a good point for us to remember as the messaging goes out from everybody involved.
I certainly would second it, giving rise to more than a footnote.
Well, maybe as the summer moves on and we get a lot more feedback and we understand what it's going to look like, then we decide because I do believe some type of communication certainly, but maybe even a forum or some type of Q&A for ourselves and the public just to hash some of this out once we learn kind of what Allers brings back, and as the summer moves on, what enforcement looks like. I just think there's going to be a laundry list, and I think you're all right. We're going to have some explaining to do, and I think being creative about the way that we do that as the summer moves on might be advice.
Perhaps we could ask the governor for guidance on how to do that.
Well, we will be asking the Department of Ed. And I know there's also some conversation from just different employee group circles with questions that they have immediately for the Department of Ed. Some of these aspects do have longer glide paths than, per se, like the bathroom bill that was effective upon signature from the governor. And so there may be some questions we don't even have answered this summer yet, or we don't have specific answers on. They may give us some general guidance, and then that creates more questions and more back and forth. But there is some longer-term effective dates. I think one of the library ones is around 2024, right? So there's going to be some time periods where I'm sure we go back and forth and, again, do our best intent to make sure we're following the law, but I appreciate what you guys are saying around how we can communicate some of those changes to our families, too.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be a very busy summer, and not by are choosing.
If you don't mind, President Malone, one thing, Superintendent Degner found that section, and it is important for the record that people understand it. So it's House File 604 that passed regarding discipline policies. It's requiring the board to have a policy that provides for counseling or mental health counseling sessions when appropriate. Again, it's important that we know that our legislators do acknowledge that mental health counseling is important and has some sort of purpose. So that's good.
Yeah, thank you for noting that for the record. Next up is our director liaison reports. I don't know if any of our directors would like to highlight anything that they took part in this month.
I do. Sorry, I'm talking too much. I know we're having a short meeting. Okay, so I went to Mamma Mia, and Lisa, you probably should say something about the musical you were involved in. And I also went to the four-walled track meet, and the joy that these students bring to this community, whether you have a kid in those events or not, I didn't in either of them, it's just beautiful.
I'll let Charlie talk about Wizard of Oz because he actually got to go see it in the audience. And I appreciate your bravo in parentheses on your update.
Well, it was, it deserves a bravo.
President Malone, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hey, I just wanted to highlight that Director Clausen and I went to the Innovation and Education Awards at the Englert, and that was really inspiring to see all of our dedicated and passionate teachers that won awards there that night. It was a very nice night.
Great. Thank you for highlighting that.
So if you don't mind, President Malone, just to follow up, the Penn students and their parental helpers and teacher helpers put on a nearly 3-hour play, which for elementary students that was something I didn't know that they knew how to do, but they did, and they did it very well. And it occurs to me that in thinking about all of the work that the entire school put into that production over a period of many months, 2 or 3 years, must have some great effect upon the cohesiveness and the feeling of students to be a part of that school. So maybe this is a rude thing to say, but if there are other elementary schools that want to do a production, call up the Penn principal and ask them how they did it and go at it.
Lisa's
Well,
like,
thank
I
you.
did it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Well,
No, I would second. Call Principal Brandon.
there you go.
That's-
I don't dare volunteer another board member.
No. I wanted to highlight, Director Clausen, you look like
Just
you were
real
grabbing-
quick, since it's the thing, I went to Beauty and the Beast, so I think we, between us, we've got it all covered, which again, you just, it's amazing, the theater productions that we pull off in this district, it's next level. And Charlie, I think what you talk about, that cohesiveness, as a former theater person myself, that's what it does. It's really amazing. And I think, to highlight too, I imagine Mamma Mia was the same and Wizard of Oz, a lot of people there, sold out, packed, right? So our community really appreciates this. It's a real value for everyone involved, and they do a great job.
So I will round out the discussion and highlighting some of our very creative students. I attended the Midwest One Bank art exhibit. In full disclosure, I went because my husband is an art teacher and he reminded me. But I got to see some amazing artwork by our students, K through 6, I believe, is that art show. But if you walk through the halls of the ESC, the art teachers spent time last Thursday swapping out all the artwork. So it's brand new artwork highlighting some of their students. And what I really liked about that program, the ones that they swap out, are sometimes kids that don't always get the recognition, but they developed a great piece. So spend some time walking through that. And directors Clausen, Pilcher Hyatt, and Superintendent Degner and I attended the DPO scholarship reception last month, and that was great to see because they awarded some future teachers scholarships. So some of my remarks included, they always have a place at ICCSD, Nick Proud. So, wink, wink, no. But also, I know it's not on our director liaison, but tomorrow night, we will be attending the Silver Salute, where we will be recognizing over 2,800 years of experience leaving our district. So just another awesome way to recognize our folks that without them, I don't think we could run as well as we do. And with that, that takes us to, this feels so self-serving, school board recognition. I mean, yay for us.
I'll try to make it feel less self-serving and talk for you guys. So we left you all a certificate there and just would want to say thank you for your service. And, you know, as educators, we're really great at planning things, but I don't think they let us plan when these recognition times are, because we definitely wouldn't have put them all in May. But we've had Teacher Appreciation Week, School Lunch Hero Day, Principal Day, Nurses Week. I think it's Communicators Day on Friday. I saw. I'm like, now I have to remember to tell Kristen on Friday how awesome she is. But thank you guys for what you do. I mean, you don't get any pay for the job. You do get some concerns. You do get some thank yous, but none of it's commensurate with the amount of commitment and time, energy, effort, and just mental energy that you spend on this. And it's really just for the betterment of our kids. And so I am personally proud of, I think, what we've seen as a culture shift in the district and how we've come together to work together to collaboratively solve those problems. And I always think about the saying that if the elephants are fighting, the grass suffers. And so that really, I think, is a challenge to us to continue to think about how we function at the top and then how that's good for the kids in the school district. And you guys have been a great example of that, so thank you.
Thank you. Okay, with that, that takes us to agenda setting. And our first draft agenda is the Education Committee meeting, which will be on May 16th. At Penn Elementary.
Yes, and we're going to do the Glow Show at Penn Elementary. So Principal Brandon has agreed to meet with us briefly at 4:30, I think is what Kim and I have set, 4:30 with Principal Brandon and some teachers, and then we'll do a really brief meeting overview of the Glow Show. My guess would be we'd adjourn the meeting and then just kind of tour the show from there. So it'll probably be a short and sweet, but really, really cool and fun one.
Yeah, I'm super excited for this one, guys. Talking about like things that the whole school has come together and done. They have been working on Glow Show all year. Every single student has touched and made something for Glow Show. So I don't know what it's going to look like because we've never done one before, but I'm really excited to see it in action.
Great.
So don't miss it.
Will not miss it. Next up is the draft agenda for policy and governance, which will be on May 23rd. It looks as though the 900 series, school district community relations, and policy primers will be reviewed. Just checking to see that's the full agenda. If there's anything else, okay. And that takes us to our regularly scheduled meeting for Board of Directors. On May 23rd, the normal standing items, education showcase. Do we know what that will be just yet, Superintendent Degner or Director Peterson?
Go ahead. Yes, it's going to be the Wickham Elementary, their student leadership program.
Okay, great. And we'll have our certified budget and not sure what other couple of things, our equity update. Will we have the finalized negotiation agreements?
That's our plan at this point to hopefully bring those to you.
Great.
Then a couple other ones that I'm not sure if we talked about at the board table, but I've had in the hopper here would be fence projects. I think we're due back, so we might try to do that the second meeting in May and talk to you a little bit about fencing through the district. And then also, I'm going to get the recognition month wrong on this, but May is also something about preservation month or art preservation month. And so there's a mural we'd like to highlight it. Historic Preservation Month. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, putting the words together is a problem here. But there's a mural at Horn, the Keith Haring mural, and we've been working with the Stanley Museum at the University of Iowa as Horn's getting ready to do some construction, and so we'd like to talk to you a little bit about that and some of the process and the collaboration with them. So it's kind of like we might have a couple ed showcases actually at the next meeting to make sure we can highlight that before we go to the summer too. And sometime we'd love you to stop by Horn if you have a chance and look at it before it gets moved too, so, yep.
Do you know what date it is getting moved? Do we have an ETA
Jason, do you know
on
the
that?
exact date?
No, we don't. We're still working with them to plan that for over the summer, which is one reason we want to talk to you about it before that.
And also, since I don't think we have a meeting before this occurs, is it possible just to have a brief discussion presentation about the National Gun Violence Awareness Day, Wear Orange, that it takes place June 2nd through June 4th of this year? Just to educate our community?
All right, good.
Great. Okay.
Because there's something I'd like to put in the hopper too, is just, and obviously it doesn't look like it fits in our next meeting. But I get a lot of questions about the grading and homework deadline, or removal of deadlines when you have to turn your homework in. I don't know much about it, even though I have kids in 3 different levels of school. So I know previous boards talked about that. I just don't know very much about it. And of course, every time we get new families in, it's good to remind them. So at some point, just maybe a description about how we've changed our grading system. Maybe it's only secondary. I don't know. And whether or not there are deadlines that students have to turn things in by.
Okay. Yeah, I think we can do that, correct? Okay. Okay, that takes us to the end of our meeting. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.